Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Domtrap. I am your host, your editor, your creator, your director, your DJ, your edit. You know, all the above. You get the gist by now. You get the gist. It's me. It's Dom. Welcome to the show. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your family is well. I hope that you're staying nice and cool as this weather warms up. This is the best season, so I'm pretty excited about how the weather's been feeling, and just knowing that it's a little bit warmer in the day. The spirits are high, the grass is green, the insects are out. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. And then not to mention in the evenings when we get that smooth wind come through. Oh man, it's the chef's kiss. But yes, hope that all of you are well. I'm not going to apologize for my small hiatus. I just apologize for not being here as often. But I'm here now, and I think that means a lot. Do you disagree or agree? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you share it with your people. We are like teetering on hitting 100 subscribers. I have not been promoting myself the way that I should, so maybe I will start just so we can hit that threshold finally. But thank you to each and every last one of you that are here. Thank you to those that asked for the episodes. Thank you for the co-workers, that Ricky in particular, that kind of put that match up under me and said, hey, you remember you got a podcast, right? Like, you got this big banner behind you. You're promoting yourself here. You need to go ahead and record. So yes, I'm recording. Well, let's do shout outs, matter of fact. Shout out to Greg, you sucker, you. Shout out to Angelica. Shout out to Jazz. Thank y'all for listening. Shout outs to Kimberly. Thank you very much. Shout out to my boy Lex, man. Congratulations on the healthy baby boy, man. I'm so happy for my guy Lex. He's doing the dad thing, and I couldn't be happier for him. Shout out to Pruitt. Shout out to Judd, Jalen, everybody that's listening. Shout out to my cousin Joshua. I'll just say this here. I'm feeling kind of emotional today. So I have a cousin that we met maybe twice in our lifetimes when we were very young, and we haven't seen each other in over 20 years. But there was a chance that it just happened. He had job training near where I am now, and we actually met up last night, and it was quite the surreal experience, because it's one of those situations where you have that family member that you don't know if you'll ever meet or see again, and then it happens, and it's like, wow, this is an actual human being. We have the same blood, and we're on totally different places in the world. But yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, shout out to Joshua. Shout out to the boys over at RJCXD. Shout out to Ray. Love you guys, man. Thank you all for listening and checking everything out. Chris and you as well. I see you. Sorry, I feel like this is just giving shout outs to everybody. Shout out to JID. Yeah. Thank y'all for listening and checking the episodes out and everything. I truly appreciate it. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, share this with your people. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I don't think Google Podcasts is a thing anymore, but whatever it is, if you're listening there, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Give your boy that 5-star rating. I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. But I just have a few reviews I want to get out of the way today. One in particular is one of the biggest movies in cinema right now, which is surprising because I'm not going to lie. As excited as I was to see this movie, I didn't think that the people would actually show up to see this one if they weren't already showing up to the ones that are out now. For example, The Fall Guy and Furiosa. Great movies that are out in theaters, I believe, still. And the people just really didn't show up to see them. So I'm surprised to see that this particular film in film history is getting love right now. And that movie is Bad Boys Ride or Die. Now, this one does star Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, as it should. So if you're looking forward to seeing those characters, Marcus and Mike Lowry, do what they have to do, then you'll be in for a treat. I will say that. You'll be very much in for a treat. This is coming off of Will Smith's entire controversy with the slap and Chris Rock and the Oscars, but it's okay. He's okay. I know everyone was kind of wondering how he was going to bounce back, and have a career after that career-ending moment, but here he is with a banger of a movie, and possibly the movie to really start off our summer film rollout. So one thing about this franchise, I have a love relationship with this franchise. It got tested with the last movie, Bad Boys for Life, for obvious reasons. If you haven't seen it already, I'll just give a quick review of it. It's a stinker. We found out that Mike Lowry had a relationship with a bruja, which is a witch, and they had a child. And the child shoots him and almost kills him. And he spends the movie trying to hunt the child down. That's his own child, by this woman that we've never met in the franchise. And it's just a stinker of a movie. I'd hate to, kind of dogpile on top of it, but that's just how I feel about it. It's not a great movie at all. But one thing that happens in particular, the captain dies. He gets shot. And that's the main thing that has consequences leading up to this film, the Bad Boys Ride or Die, this new film. But when it comes to this franchise, I tell people all the time, like, I'm not leaving. I love Bad Boys 1. Bad Boys 2 is just on a totally different level. Bad Boys 3 I could have done without, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, say what you want to about the cast and however the last movie was, I'm still here. And then even from the moment that this movie was announced, I was on the side of, yeah, I'll check it out. I'm not going to leave them. I'm not going to leave it behind. That Bad Boys is part of my childhood. I'm going to just watch it. That's just what I do. The same way people go out and see this new Indiana Jones film and Star Wars films and all of this other stuff, I'm here for the Bad Boys franchise. There's a few of those like that. If they were to announce a new Friday, I'd be here for it. That's just one of those things. But yes, when it came to the whole controversy aspect with Will Smith, I'm pretty sure people were just kind of put off by this movie, and pretty much whatever he did, they just felt that it wasn't genuine. But he's an actor, and what does he do in this film? He acts and does a great job at it. And even with the more action-heavy scenes, he does a great job with those also. And there's a shot in particular. I don't want to spoil much, right? But there's a shot where he has a camera on his chest. It's like on a dolly. It spins. You can turn the camera and everything. And he's turning the camera and is looking down the barrel of the gun. Then he switches the camera back. It's looking at him. It's like a video game almost. And he turns it back around. It's a really cool shot scene. But I love stuff like that. I love camera work. So that really pulled me in prior to even seeing this movie. But from the first trailer, I thought that they were going to go in the same route that they went with the third movie by making Martin Lawrence's character Marcus a sucker again. I feel like in that movie he held back everything and made everything just kind of not so great. But I'm here to report that that is not the case with this movie. Martin actually has some things to do, and Marcus as a character is more relatable than ever. Granted, he's always been the family man of the two, but now you see that he actually loves his people. He always has, but this time it's more noticeable this time. And even with a character that was more of a joke character starting out with, Reggie, if you remember Bad Boys 2, the iconic scene, motherfucker, you look about 30. Yeah, that Reggie, he shows back up here again. He is a United States Marine this time around. I believe it was in the last movie. And yeah, he gets his comeuppance in this film. Once again, no spoilers, but yeah, he does the darn thing. I will just say that. But Martin, and in the shape that he's in, he's not doing any kind of like front flips or back flips, and he's not doing cartwheels and jumping over cars and stuff. But for what he's needed for in this film, he does a fantastic job. So shout out to Martin Lawrence. Shout out to Marcus in this film. Shout out to Mike Lowry. And I would just say this, Mike Lowry actually has something at stake this time. So it always feels great when your character has some kind of motivation to make it to the end of the movie. And for most of the movie, it's kind of foreshadowed that he's going to have to make a big decision. He's going to have to make a choice. And you never really know what it is until that moment comes. And I want to say that the payoff is pretty well during that moment. They do a really good job of showing, we got from point A to point B. Here we are. Let's end this movie soon. They do a pretty good job with that. And I want to say that's also one of this movie's greatest strengths, is that this movie knows how to be a film. It knows how to capture your your attention and hold on to it and make sure there's enough happening on the screen that keeps you engaged. And if there's a slow moment, it brings on a character that makes you say, oh yeah, I forgot about that character. Let's see what's going to happen here. Granted, some of those things never really go anywhere. They don't have any repercussions, but the action makes up for it. And another thing that I love about this movie, that it's also like a video game. So, when you're in a video game and you're just traversing through the world and you get to like this arena type area, or there's a club or just some kind of office building, and you're looking around and you're like, yeah, this is prime time for the big fight scene or the big cut scene leading up to the boss fight. It's just like that. I think that's why I like this movie so much, and I keep talking about it. This movie is almost like a video game in certain ways. The same way that I love the John Wick films, let's just say that. But there's one character in particular, right? When you see this character towards the beginning of the film, you may do exactly what I did. And you're just going to say to yourself, that guy's not a good guy. He's terrible. He's crappy. I know he's going to switch up if he hasn't already. He's just a bad person overall. I'm waiting on his downfall. There's that character in this film. So be on the lookout for that. But yes, it's very cliche in certain ways. But yeah, they don't introduce too many new characters, which I always think is a good thing when you have a franchise that's this far deep. Make sure that we get established with the characters that we do have, whether they're in older movies or the most recent movie. If you're going to bring them back for a reason. That's the best way to carry this film and the franchise. But once again, just with the last movie, going back to that, the captain is dead, and in this movie, he's been framed for working with the cartel. So Marcus and Mike Lowry, they have to pretty much clear the captain's name while also trying to clear their own names because they become fugitives. And with who? What do you have it? Will Smith's half black, half Latino son. I'll just say that. And they're on the run, and they have to pretty much find out how to prove their innocence and come back and live society and get back to their families and make sure that everyone's okay at the end of the day. But they run away. They meet. They have different hijink kind of moments, like kind of, they run into the redneck family and they put on the Reba shirt and they have to fake knowing Reba McEntire songs, which is a good bit, but it did get kind of sour by the time I saw it in the movie because it played in the trailer so many times and it wasn't that funny of a bit. But the comedy in this movie is there. I want to say there was maybe 2 or 3 points where I just kind of sat back and I was like, man, I'm having fun with this movie. Didn't expect it, but I'm having a great time. So when that's the case, I'm all the way in. If you can surprise me with a good time, I'm all the way in, and that's exactly what this film did. But yeah, during their chases, there's just chaos. They run into quirky characters like Tiffany Haddish. She's trash, but they run into her and a few characters from the last movie. DJ Khaled in particular makes an appearance. And what happens to him, I'll just say this. What happens to DJ Khaled's character is something that would put a smile on the face that is not a DJ Khaled fan. I'll just say that. And I have a friend that's not a DJ Khaled fan, but yeah, he would definitely have a ball with that scene in particular. There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of Michael Bay-esque isms, which is also great because Michael Bay does make a cameo in this film. Yeah, kind of in line with the last film, which is great. That's okay. As long as his spirit is in the franchise and somewhere nearby, this franchise will be in great hands. And with that, I'm going to give Bad Boys Ride or Die an 8 out of 10, which surprises me because, like I said, my expectations were kind of When you have as many films as this in today's age where everything is like out to grab someone's cash, you never know what you're going to get. And I will say that with this, I got a great time. I can't say that it's a 9 for the main fact that Bad Boys 2 is a 9. This movie is not better than Bad Boys 2, but I want to say that it is better than Bad Boys 1, and it's definitely better than Bad Boys for Life. But this is the summer movie that people should go out and see. There usually is always one, so go and see Bad Boys Ride or Die. And it's funny that the people are actually showing up to see this one and not Furiosa a Mad Max Saga or the Fall Guy. It's really funny how that's working out. And I believe even Garfield, which I did see, is reviewing well, and people are loving that film. It's really funny. It shows that, we have been in a weird place, when it comes to the theater experience. And we know that theaters are hurting and they kind of do whatever they have to do to stay afloat. But seeing the people show up for this movie shows me, at least, that people are definitely still willing to go to the movie theater. I had a conversation with a coworker of mine. I was like, I wonder exactly why people aren't going. Like, I believe that it has to be something just with inflation, with, the prices all around just going up, which makes a lot of sense to me. But in this case, it doesn't seem that way. with Bad Boys Ride or Die, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like the people just want to see it because they want to see it. It's not because of funds or anything. It's not because of, the fact that if you go and see a movie without a membership and you buy popcorn and a drink and maybe a little box of candy, it's going to run you about $40, which is crazy. But yeah, I don't want to rant about films and the film industry today, so I'll save that for another topic. We'll save that. We'll table that for later, okay? But speaking of expensive films, this next film is the fourth movie in a new franchise of an old franchise. And this movie has apes in it. Many apes. Apes are actually ruling the world. That film is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And if anyone knows me, you know that I have a soft spot for these movies. Just a little bit. And I'm also a fan of movies with, like, long titles. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, titles like that, they always get me. I'm like, if you can come up with a title that's that long and a movie that's that enjoyable, you have my attention. But yes, I went into Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with fairly low expectations. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that this movie took place generations after Caesar's reign, I guess you could say, from the Rise, Dawn, and War trilogy. But I didn't know exactly what to expect. I didn't know what kind of characters we were going to be dealing with. I was wondering how they could kind of take at our heartstrings and, move the story further. I was even wondering, did the story even need to be moved further? But after this film, I can say that, yes, there's a space for this type of franchise. And where this movie is headed, I'm all for. But not to get too far ahead of myself, yeah, low expectations from going into this one. I didn't look into the cast, the voice cast, of course, not even the human cast. So I was pretty much surprised by whoever I thought I heard, realizing that. The actors that showed up, one in particular kind of got me curious, but disappointed at the fact that they didn't go anywhere with it. But yes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a new film in the Planet of the Apes franchise. Takes place generations after Caesar, and it stars, which I believe is his, let's see, it's a descendant of his, I guess you could say. And he goes by the name of Noah. And the movie starts off with Noah and two other apes that are his friends, and I believe possibly a love interest. They are going to go and find eggs because they are part of the Eagle clan. And the Eagles are basically used as friends and then also to message across other clans. So they're like the messenger clan, I guess you could say. So Noah and his friends, they come back, they bring the eggs. We're introduced to Noah's family, his mother, and his dad is the chief of the tribe. And just like always with these films, it's the humans that do something stupid to ruin everything for the apes. So in this particular case, there's a human. She's almost like a cave woman, and she causes Noah to break his egg in disbelief. He's kind of shocked. He doesn't really do anything to the human because he's not that kind of ape. So he decides to go out at night, find another egg so he can bring it back and not disappoint his family. While outside, there's another clan of like raider apes, and they're just going through, and they have like cow prods, and they're like shocking everybody, and they're like murderous. So Noah, he calls his horse back home. The horse goes home, the raiders follow it, and they basically destroy the entire Eagle clan. They burn everything down to the ground. They're capturing people, they're killing people, and they're going to go and kill Noah's dad. Noah steps in and tries to intervene, but unfortunately Noah's dad bites the bullet. R.I.P. It's so hard to say goodbye to that man. But Noah sets out after that, and he's presumed dead, but his family and friends were all captured by this clan. He doesn't know where they went. He just has small clues. He meets possibly one of the best apes in this Planet of the Apes franchise, who goes by the name of Raka. And I believe that Raka might be some kind of orangutan, but he's like orange haired. But Raka he's lovable. He's older. He wants to help Noah, even though he doesn't know much about Noah, but he's a follower of Caesar and what Caesar's teachings were. Like, he knows what books are, but apes, they cannot read. Funny enough. But he knows that Caesar was doing the right thing, and he's just a follower of that. And when he meets Noah, he says, "Oh, this is divine intervention. I'm going to help Noah get his clan back and save his family." Blah, blah, blah. They basically go on and they meet the human character, and she basically says, "Hi, my name is May. I'm a human. I'm not like a cave woman. Let's go and save your people because, we've all messed up." Fine. They run into some trouble with the other apes that came and pillaged the village that Noah was at. So chaos ensues, and Raka sacrifices himself to save May and Noah. They're both captured and taken to a big ship, pretty much, and that's where we meet our big bad, whose name is Proximus. And Proximus is a villain that's lovable. You don't want to love the guy, but he has the charisma, and you just have to love him. And he goes by Proximus Caesar, and the way that he sees it, he sees himself as a god. And the god to the apes is Caesar. So he sees himself as a king god Caesar. He is following Caesar's teachings, but failing in hysterical fashion. So at this ship, Proximus Caesar wants to get inside of a vault that he believes is going to further the progression of where the apes are and continue with their technology, just so he can become even more of an ape king. And this character is played by Kevin Durand. And he's one of those actors that when you see him, you know who he is. You never expect him to do a bad job. But in this film, he does a fantastic job. I loved him in this role. This was great. The last time I had seen him was in Abigail, which was just a few months ago, where he plays the lovable idiot of the crew. And in this, he's a lovable king villain. And it was very hard to kind of differentiate him from the character, for me a little bit. But yes, he does a great job in this role. Once we get to the ship, we also learn that William H. Macy is here. And he's basically like a librarian, historian. And he's corrupt. I'll just say that. So instead of really turning on the humans, he just decides to work with the apes. So he's working as an underling to Proximus Senior. And I feel like he was miscast. And the reason I say that is because William H. Macy is a fantastic actor. I loved him in Shameless. But seeing him here, it just screams cash grab. And even though he doesn't have many lines, it just feels like you're here just to be here, to move the story forward, to give us someone to kind of latch onto because we have all these apes. But yes, his character really didn't mean much to the story at all. So he reunites with his family, which is very, very emotional because you discover that his mom is still alive and she still loves him and everything. So he Macy and his two friends, they devise a plan to go into the vault and get whatever May needs prior to Proximus being able to get into the vault. So they do that. She takes a satellite key and she basically forgets about the other apes. They go outside. They realize they've been caught by Proximus Caesar. And what does? She acts out of anger and blows up the bombs that they kind of set around the perimeter just so they can flood the vault and everything within the ship. A very selfish move, and we find out why she did it just a little bit later, because at the time we're pretty confused, even though we have a little bit of an idea of why she did it. The main villain ape, well, one of the main villain apes that was at the Eagle clan's demise that killed Noah's father, runs back into Noah. There's an exciting chase sequence within the ship, and it ends in a way that kind of happened in the most recent Avatar movie, which is pretty funny. But this movie, it's great in a way. I wish that it was great all around, but in certain ways, this movie is great. And I just want to say that the CG for this movie really keeps you engaged. Like the apes, the way that they function and the way their ears will randomly move, with just about everything with the CG is just fantastic. It's in another league, just so to speak. It's just everything just looks so believable. But back to the ship. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off topic there. But back to the ship. They basically get to the top of like a mountain type area, and Proxima Caesar arrives and he beats Noah up. And the rest of the apes just kind of sit there and watch, which I found kind of confusing because they're apes. But Noah, who's not really the best fighter that we've seen at all, he decides to speak to an eagle that his dad left behind. And the eagle gets other eagles and they peck at Proxima Caesar and he falls to his demise. And the heroes win. But there's always that one extra thing. So that's when we discover that May, she decided to take the satellite key back to the humans so they can use it and communicate with other humans from around the planet, which I'm excited for. I'm pretty sure people were upset about it. I wasn't the biggest fan of seeing the human in the film and knowing that the film was going to have some kind of human element. But if you're going to make the humans the underdog, I'm all for underdog stories anyway. So, yes, I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I don't care about the humans. I'm just going to stand on that now. But I'm excited to see if they're going to be able to fight against these apes in a war that they're already down 60 points from. So, I'm excited. And it was also great seeing this film in the IMAX theater. I was kind of curious about how it was going to look on IMAX because my IMAX experiences have been kind of hit or miss. I've only seen 3 movies in IMAX, and that's Venom Chapter 2, Hereditary, which I may have to do another review on soon. I did go and see that during a re-release, and this movie. These are the only 3 movies that I've seen in IMAX. So this one was definitely a hit, more so than Venom 2, which I'm okay with. This movie was great. But overall, if I have to put everything into consideration, this movie gets a solid 8 out of 10 for me. See, we're going to start off with 2 out of 10s from Bad Boys to this. 2 8 out of 10s. It feels like this movie would have been even better if it felt complete. Like, just because it feels like the first chapter of another franchise all over again, that's where I kind of have to deduct those points. I wish that more movies would go the route of having a singular, complete experience. And it's like, whenever we do get these types of movies, it just feels fresh, which it shouldn't. Whenever we do go to a movie, we expect there to be a beginning, middle, and end within that hour and a half, 2 hour, 2.5 hour, in the case of some movies, 3.5 hour time span. We want to see it end and come to a complete stop, just so we can ponder on it, just to experience the film as a film itself instead of what there is to come. But yes, I'd say check it out. If you're a fan of ape films at all, if you're a fan of action films and revenge flicks, I'd say just check it out. It wouldn't do you much harm at all. But if you're looking for, I don't know, any kind of like sentimental value or lessons to be learned from this film, they're there, but don't put too much stock into it. And speaking of stock, in particular livestock, I got a horror movie to talk about. Now, this film I didn't know too much about it going into it. I just knew that it was on the cheaper side when it came to the budget because it's more of an indie flick. I believe it was made in conjunction with IFC and Shudder. And those movies tend to have a lower budget, and they tend to have very interesting direction. But this movie is called In a Violent Nature. All I knew about this movie going into it was that it was going to be a horror flick taking place in the eyes of the serial killer that we'll be following. And this movie is a Canadian film. It is a slasher. One of the closest things I can say this film has in common with any other franchise, I believe that it's closest to the Friday the 13th franchise. Whereas it's just old school slasher energy. There's just an angry dead guy who gets resurrected and he just wants to go back home, which that's okay with me. I love a simple premise. For example, in this film, he's basically in the ground. He might have been killed. We're not completely sure. We just know that he's in the ground and he's ready to get active whenever it's time. Some idiots, I'll just say some idiots, they decide to show up and take a locket that's near where he's buried. And I'm assuming right away when I'm seeing this that this locket belongs to a motherly type character, which turned out to be right. And they take it. It's just like, he senses that it's gone. He senses that they've woken up the beast. So he gets up out of the ground and he goes on his journey to discover and find his mother's locket. And one of the funniest things is just when he gets up, he just walks. He doesn't say anything to the camera. There are no jokes. He just gets up. He just gets at it. No motive. He doesn't have a monologue or anything. He just goes. So he finds this house and he sees people outside. They're yelling at each other. And he just kind of just walks in this house. He goes into one of the bedrooms and he finds these lockets. And he thinks that he sees his mother and it's his mother's. And he picks it up. He looks at it. A kind of flashback occurs. And then we go back to where he's in the bedroom. And the owner of the home finds him in there. And says, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" And I think he shoots him, I believe. And then he turns, he realizes that he made a huge mistake. And he then just basically runs out the house. And he's getting chased by our protagonist, who, by the way, his name is Johnny. So the bad guy that we're following, Johnny, follows him, and he follows the homeowner into the woods. And the homeowner gets trapped by a bear trap. And I'm pretty sure that what kind of happens after that. He does meet his demise. And that was just kind of like the first taste of a kill that we get in the film. And then it just kind of cuts to a bunch of younger 20-somethings maybe. They're just out in the woods camping or whatever. And we're just sitting there while he's in the back watching them because he sees that they have his mother's locket. So we're just kind of living vicariously through him, and he's watching and listening to their conversation. And then they tell a story, and we have to kind of catch the story and see if it relates to whatever we're doing in the film. So death ensues pretty much. He goes hunting, I'll just say that. And he basically kills the group one by one. There's even a kind of origin story where he finds like a hook with like a chain. It's like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. And he finds a mask. And that's like his killer outfit. He protects his face that's all messed up from, I'm guessing, where he awoke and died again over and over again. So yeah, there's a kill in particular. I love, if you know me, I love myself a good horror kill. I love that the more creative that they get, the more I like it. There's a kill in this film that reminds me of a Mortal Kombat fatality in the best way. And I don't mean the old Mortal Kombat fatalities, I mean the new one where they just kind of completely mutilate the opponent. So Johnny finds a victim and he completely annihilates this chick in one of the best fashions ever. She doesn't see it coming at all. But I'm watching it and I'm like, yeah, this is like very much overkill, but I like it. I don't want to spoil the kill. Just check it out for yourself. It's really gnarly. It's got some nasty stuff there. But then shortly after that, this movie hits almost a complete halt, where a particular character is injured and they injure our characters. So it's more downtime. We're trying to actually relate to the 20-somethings that went camping. So that turns out to not be a good idea to hurt him because he came back a little bit angrier. And this next kill takes so long and it's so dragged out. And it involves a log splitter. And if you've seen a log splitter operate, you know exactly what I mean. Or you can just kind of guess exactly how this kill goes. But it just takes so long to get to the point. And I remember there being just like downtime. And I'm like looking at my phone, just wondering what's happening in the world. Because this part was just so much. It was so difficult to get through. And then after that, a couple more kills happen. And then the movie slows down again. And then there's a character that meets one of the 20-somethings. And she's like, hey, get in my truck. I'll take you to safety. And it's just a car ride. And I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, okay, this movie should be ending up sometime here soon. What are we doing? Why is there a car ride and just dialogue when we've established that this was going to be a silent kind of horror film? And it was just so weird. It's like they didn't know exactly how to end the movie. And then the movie ends and it's just like, yeah, I should have left 20 minutes ago. It would have been a much better movie if I left 20 minutes ago. Which is crazy to say, but that's just where that is. But yes, it does have one gruesome Mortal Kombat fatality, which is great. They also do a great job with the practical effects. I don't know how much of the blood was CG, but whatever was practical, they did a fantastic job with. But this movie isn't long at all, which is a great thing. It just lingers towards the end, and it feels way longer than it actually is. And because of that, I'll give this movie a 7 out of 10. I like the concept of this film more than the actual execution, if that says anything. I just wish that it would have delivered more throughout the film rather than just with that one kill and then a few moments sprinkled in between. If it just would have been more consistent, if it just would have had a little bit more going on, I would have been okay. But yeah, if you're a fan of movies that they call slow cinema or slow burns, this might be right up your alley, especially if you love horror movies. But yes, In a Violent Nature gets a 7 out of 10 from me. And I think I'm going to leave it off here. I got a few more movies I do want to review. There's The Watchers. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is a director, and she's directed that film, so I do want to check that out. And Inside Out 2 comes out this week, so I want to check that out too. And yes, I'm a fan of the Inside Out franchise, so don't be surprised. I love myself a good animation film. And I might give a review for Garfield. I just have a few words to say about that one. I do also want to review Furiosa on the podcast, so be on the lookout for that. Yeah, I think that's about it for right now. Like I said, I'll definitely come back. It won't be long. I promise it won't be long. But yeah, I'll come back with some more episodes. Make sure if you want to find me, you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Search the Dom Trap, and you'll more than likely find me. Yeah. Also, I shouted Hiley out previously. Me and Hiley will more than likely be reuniting on another episode of Keep It a Brick, so be on the lookout for that. I'll let you all know whenever that happens. But yes, go and see Bad Boys, Ride or Die. That's one of my closing notes here. Go to the movies. I know it might be a little bit expensive, but just go to the movies. You don't even have to get concessions for this movie. It's a little bit under 2 hours. Just go, sit back, enjoy the film. Try not to get mad at Will Smith, and have a great time. Just turn your brain off and enjoy the movie. The same way that you can do the Fast and Furious franchise, go and treat yourself to Bad Boys, Ride or Die. So yes, thank you all for listening. As far as life updates, things are still going great. I'm still at that point where I'm like a little bit worried, waiting on the thing to happen, but I think it's about time I step out of that and just kind of be grateful and glad and be thankful that, I'm still able to wake up and enjoy the things that I love, the people that I love. And yeah, it's been a hard time. I'm not going to rant. I promise I'm not going to rant. But it's been a rough time for some families that I know. And I just want to say and let them know, if they're listening to this podcast, we are all praying for you. We are very sorry for your losses. It's just one of the hardest things that we as human beings have to go through is seeing one of our own leave. And it's something that we were never looking forward to, and we never really want to happen. But, it's just a constant reminder that, we're not on our own time, So if you're listening to this, everybody, love your family, love your friends, tell your people that you love them, call them, message them, whatever, send them a heart, just let your people know that you love them and that they don't have to go through things alone. There's too many of us for people to go through things alone. But that's where I want to leave this at. It's been your host, your director, your editor, producer, your best grip, whatever they call it, your DJ. My name is Dom. Love y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. Check me out everywhere. 5-star reviews, thumbs up, likes, share. We got goals. We got goals for this podcast. So yes, love y'all, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.